Hi everyone, Eden here, and welcome to the Stronger Together channel, where my goal is to cultivate a supportive and enriched community for early career women in data science. The subjects that we talk about on this channel are specifically designed to provide meaningful advice and tools to help you be successful in your career as a data scientist. And for this session, let me just go ahead and pull up my notes here. We have our lovely guest, Hermine, and she is going to be this week's feature on the Women of Google series. This series is specifically designed for other women in tech to see themselves in us. So many times in the tech industry, we've built up some kind of image of what we think of for a particular company or a particular role, and us not being able to see ourselves in that position. So I wanted to just take some time to interview some of my colleagues. There's a lot of great women around Google, and Hermine is one of the best. So we are going to learn a little bit about her, starting with her position at Google. And just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Eden, and thanks for this opportunity and this great channel that you're creating and this great content, and which is so important for all of us. And hi, everyone. And my name is Hermine. I am a solutions developer at Google Cloud.
Awesome. And tell us a little bit about what that position entails. What is your day-to-day work?
So it's basically kind of software engineering position where we build demos and solutions for customers. I think the difference between traditional software engineering role in Google and solutions development role is that we build not products but demos for customers. And these are shorter cycles. We build a demo for sometimes a month and a half. I mean, some demos could be longer than that. And then we present it to our customers at our early stages of our communications. And then based on that, customers can make decisions about how they like Google products. And then we move to a next demo. So we do a lot of development work, but it's not a production level development. So it's a little bit of different from the traditional SWE role.
Gotcha. So how much of your time are you spending coding, and how much of your time are you spending customer facing?
Yeah, so I would say I spend 80-90% of my time either coding or architecting or brainstorming with my team. And usually we started out our demos as like smaller, kind of just solution-based demos. And now whenever we build demos, we build an interface like a front end, and it will act like an web application or a mobile application. And the goal is to give it to others to demo. So it usually has a nice interface that anyone, technical or non-technical, within Google can demo it for us to customers, and then we kind of collect the feedback. So most of my time, I'm just building the demo and very little time presenting.
Gotcha. And those are all products from Google Cloud Platform that you're essentially showcasing to customers or proving out some kind of a workload or concept to them?
Not only. So sometimes it's only Google Cloud products. I mean, Google Cloud is always the core of it, but we also do a lot of integration with both other Google systems like YouTube or Workspace, like Classroom, Gmail, etc. And also a lot of integrations with other third-party software like ServiceNow or some education software, depending on the customer need. Because the demos that we're not building based on what we want to show, but we're building based on what the customer wants. And depending on what systems they have, sometimes they want us to show how Google can integrate with their existing systems like Salesforce or other systems like that. So we show that too, even multi-cloud.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of customers have AWS or whatever, they have to be kind of cross-functional across those platforms. Gotcha. That makes sense. So would you say that your area of expertise is software development or like data science? What category or bucket would you put yourself in?
Yeah, I think in my current role, I'm a full stack developer, but more focused on data science, data analytics, and ML. And I think that's just because there is more demand in those demos. and I developed those skills more in my role. But it is a generalist role. So at any point, any customer would want a security demo or an infrastructure or Terraform or anything, data visualization, then we do that. It's a small team and all of us are generalists. We don't have specializations. But I think based on our previous experiences, we kind of build naturally those specializations. For me, it has been a lot of data science and ML demos over years. So I think I would say I'm more specialized in that.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. It sounds like your role is a lot of fun. Have you always been in this role at Google, or were you doing anything kind of before that? Tell us about your journey kind of at a high level, starting from your education.
Yeah, sure. My training is computer science. I've done my bachelor's and master's degree in computer science. And then I did a PhD in computer science, focused on cloud computing security and data privacy. And Google has been my first employer after PhD. And I was hired as a security specialist for a little bit, and I moved to a customer engineering role and where I directly worked with universities. And because my background is academic, I was working with researchers across the universities in the US and Canada and kind of trying to make their experiments and works easier, because being in academia, I kind of knew how difficult it is to have the need to do all these experiments for your papers, but you don't have the means and you are not technical enough to do that. So my job was to work with researchers outside of even computer science, any kind of researchers, biomedical, medical, even humanities, kind of to help them to do their experiment and on Google Cloud. And I was like the technical guide for them, and gave me a lot of opportunities to collaborate and even publish with them. And then I moved to this current role.
Wow, that's so cool. You must have learned so much going through and just seeing all those different experiences, different fields, different ways of thinking, all of that.
Yeah, totally.
That's cool. So how did you decide to apply to Google from your PhD program?
Yeah, Google has always been the dream company for me ever since my undergraduate time. And I think every computer science student I knew growing up, everybody wanted to end up at Google. But I always saw Google as an end goal, not as my first employer for sure. I could never imagine that. I was thinking that, oh, I'll do my master's. And then when I did my master's, I decided to go to PhD. And then my thinking was that, oh, I will get to some small company, then I'll get to a medium company eventually when when I
Right.
build enough expertise and I'm worthy to apply, I will apply. That was my thinking. And somehow during my PhD, I think thinking started to change when I see other people getting, when we finished our master's degree, actually, a couple of my course mates got to Amazon or some other companies. I was like, wait, what? Like, this is possible? And, and then during my PhD, I started applying to medium, small companies. And then I decided to apply to Google Research to get a research position. But I was more focused on interviewing with small companies because I was very intimidated. But then actually, a recruiter found me very randomly on LinkedIn because at that point they needed a security specialist very urgently. And because I had a PhD in security, my profile kind of fit perfectly for their need and they needed someone urgently. And that's how I eventually I never even applied. Of all my fears. And the recruiter reached out and said, do you want to have an interview? And I was like, yeah.
Of course. Yes. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. So I mean, we were gonna look at your resume, but it sounds like your LinkedIn profile might be the more relevant piece here. I hear people getting recruited off of LinkedIn all the time. That's how I got my first position at Booz Allen way back when, too. Like they were just starting to add that feature of recruiters being able to search for different skill sets and stuff. So, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I always tell people that to really beef up your LinkedIn profile because recruiters are just like all over that. Your story just proves that. It's That's great. So I guess that up to you. Our next step in the interview, in my interview with you, is to do the resume review. But if you feel like the LinkedIn profile would be more relevant because that's how you were found, we could go that route. What do you think?
I'm just like going through my LinkedIn profile to see if it's up to date. I think, yeah, we could do that just to show exactly how people found me.
Yeah, I feel like that might be a little bit more relevant. Okay, yeah, because you got through that initial hump of getting the recruiter's attention, which
Yeah.
is, it's you either do that with the resume or via LinkedIn. There's not many other ways around it. All right, so go ahead and share your screen. We can, hopefully there we go. Okay, beautiful picture. Look at that. Okay. And you got your PhD up there. Oh, cool.
And about, I added this PhD on my LinkedIn only recently. I think I didn't even have it there. It took me a while to even add that. And I was always self-conscious of adding it anywhere, pretty much. People always ask me, why don't I add my PhD next to my name? And I always feel like, oh, like, I don't know, maybe I should. So I think at the time when the recruiter found me, I didn't even have that next to my name. I did have like my education profile, but it wasn't next to my name.
Wow. See, well, I wonder if they were able to, I don't know how recruiters actually do what they do in the back end, if they're able to like select certain university degrees or not. She may or may not have known, but that's a good takeaway. We've gone through a couple of other profiles, and some people have really long descriptions under their name that like really highlights all their accomplishments, and then you actually have like nothing there. So it goes to show there's no exactly right way, but we want to show a diverse selection of methods of getting in. Okay, so 5 years. Okay, so this was 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago that you've been at Google.
Yeah, almost 6 years. This December it will be my 6th year anniversary at Google.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't know how much the interviewing process has changed over the years, but probably like I don't know, we've been doing this for a while, right? Imagine like not too different, right? Like still
Yeah.
competitive at that time. Oh, it's always been competitive, I guess. Okay, so you've got your education here. Did you have like a skills section?
I do. And I worked as a researcher at UC Davis, but that was part of my PhD. And I always also taught cloud computing at the university for 2 years. And that was also in my PhD contract that I was teaching. And education, like I said, bachelor's, master's in computer science, then some certifications that I've done. And these are either Google Cloud professional certifications and also some Coursera courses that I've finished. I think they were all there.
Those you already had those, or those are new?
These ones are new, but I had more of these. I think I had just removed them at some point because I remember that I had a lot of Coursera certifications, but at some point I removed them because there was just too many of them. So I only left the recent couple, I think. So it's starting from 2017, and these are all like Google Cloud courses and certifications.
Yeah.
I think my publications and my patents where here I have 8 publications. I think at the time that I applied, I probably had like 7 or 6. These are publications during my academic time, and I had 2 patents as well in the US.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, again, done during my PhD time, some honors and awards.
Okay.
These ones are not probably completely up to date. I also did a Harvard genetics course at Harvard Medical School during my work here because I was working with genetics researchers at Harvard and I had no idea what they were talking about. And Google helped me funded for me to do a whole semester at Harvard in genetics.
Wow, that's so cool. Oh my
Yeah.
God. You've done such a cool career so far. That's awesome.
And then the languages, and I think that's it. I don't have much on my LinkedIn.
It's pretty, yeah. I mean, I've seen LinkedIn profiles that have a lot more than this and are still like not getting reached out to by recruiters. So I guess, some takeaways here that sounds like you kind of, just met an immediate need that Google was looking to fill. And yeah, so you can never lose anything by putting more information on your LinkedIn profile. So you never know what someone's going to search and say, hey, we have this very niche area. We need someone now. And you fit the profile. So
Yeah, my profile was very, very academic, mostly focused on papers and patents, all of that, and best paper awards, all the conferences, which mean almost nothing in industry. And the reason was that I was focused on applying for academic jobs or even research jobs in industry. But like you said, it was just a good match, and they found me without any, like, I did not know anybody at Google. And when the recruiter found me and I started the interviews, he asked me if I know anyone that works at Google so they can refer me, because usually people get referred, and I just did not know anybody in person. So I was like, oh, am I not gonna get this job because I don't know anybody? But yeah, it all worked out.
So, what did you do to prepare for the interview? Did you just Google search and find out kind of what the interview process was like, or wing it?
Yeah, I did a lot of Google search, a lot of, though I would say my recruiter helped me a lot. He told me exactly the kind of interviews I was going to have. He prepared me for every single interview. I had, I think, two phone screens and then 8 on-site interviews.
eight?
Yeah. So
Oh,
4 in the morning, 4 in the afternoon. And I was at the office from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And it's kind of mass interviews where there are 50, 70 people in one day. They bring you all in, and then I don't think they do those kind of interviews anymore, but it was like 50, 60 people come in the morning. In the afternoon they cut most of them and send them home, and then the 10 of you or 20 of you continue for the other 4 interviews in the afternoons, like some shows, like one of those talent shows or something. It was very funny,
got like
very
Hunger Games. Cutthroat.
yeah. I did
Oh,
not have much time to prepare. I think from the time that recruiter found me to my on-site interviews, it was 12 days. They gave us homework to do, which they don't do anymore. If I'm not, yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, Eden, that when
I
you
didn't
got,
do
you
that.
didn't have homework, right?
No.
Yeah, we had to build an application in 10 days and then come and present that app.
Oh my God. You must have been so stressed.
It was stress, and I wasn't familiar with Google Cloud, even though my PhD was in cloud computing. I did most of my work with as an Azure because, well, I'm talking about 2013, 2016. Google Cloud was very new. So
Yeah.
I had to even learn what
Oh,
Google Cloud was.
that's really impressive that you made it through that. That's crazy. No, I didn't have to do any of that. That's whoo, good on you. My gosh. Okay, so we're just about out of time here. It's been awesome chatting with you. Do you have any parting words of advice for other women thinking to apply to Google?
I think if there's one advice that I can give, it's, to be brave. I think, like I said in the beginning of my interview, sometimes we have these ideas and all these dreams, and they look very far, and we never get to actually do it because we think that we're not prepared enough, we're not there yet. We have to learn this and that and take that course and do 100 more lead code before you apply. But there is no harm in applying, and be brave and apply. And I hope that my experience and example would be an inspiration in to know that even people that have no network, we don't know anybody. I did not study in the US. I did not do any internships in the US. My bachelor's, master's, and PhD were all overseas. I do not have a degree here. I didn't do internships. I did not know anybody. And at that time that the recruiter found me, I was in Hong Kong doing my PhD. I did have a work permit here because my husband was working here. But yeah, it's just an example that it's not always the stereotype that I have always read, that you have to know somebody in big companies to get in.
Yeah. Or even have like perfect English. I hear a lot of people who are very nervous about, oh, is my English going to be enough? And I feel like in the IT industry, it's becoming super irrelevant. Like you have to meet some bare minimum, but it doesn't have to be like perfect. No, I see people saying, I want to have like native American accent, but they want to have like native American accent, and they feel like if they're not up to that, then they don't want to, they're probably not going to apply, but it's not important, right?
I think statistically, if I'm not mistaken, 60% of Googlers are immigrants in the US. I think I've read that somewhere. It's a big number. Even if you're in the office, just like looking around, or your friends, among your friends, you will see many people are immigrants, and they come from all different backgrounds. They have different accents. But I have seen that, and I have struggled with that, because my first role at Google was a lot of presenting, a lot of talking to customers.
Yeah.
So I was very self-conscious. I still am sometimes, but
Speaking personally, I don't even, the accent doesn't even register for me. For you, for anybody, it like, unless I cannot understand, like if it's very hard for me to make out the words, that's a different issue. So I feel like it's not, shouldn't be an issue. That's just me knowing you, and people can see your accent here and evaluate against themselves. So anyway, thank you so much for your time. You have been a wonderful guest, and I hope that you encourage somebody to apply, some academic who's about to finish their PhD, to apply, and sees themselves in you and gets inspired and applies. And we have even more wonderful women across our organization. And hit us up when you get in here, please. We'd love to hear your story. So I hope you have a good rest of the day, and goodbye to all the viewers. Thank you so much.
thank you. Bye.
Bye.